Hi, this is Kat with Bita Halik, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a pair of double coin knot earrings. Now for this I'm going to be using some Chinese knotting cord in the 2mm size. You'll also need a pair of scissors, a couple pairs of pliers. I'm going to also be using a GS Hypo Cement glue, and then I have 2 earring hooks here as well as 2 barrel cord ends, and these are 10mm in length. I also have a ruler here that's going to help me as well. So let's go ahead and get started making that pair of earrings. So to begin, go ahead and take your Lovely Knots knotting cord, and this is just sort of like a nice little flexible bobbin, so it's good to always have, and you can use it even after your cord is done. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut 2 lengths of about 15 inches. Doesn't have to be exact, you're going to trim this as you go anyway. There we go. And now you can set your cord aside. I'm going to move some of this out of the way so I have a nice clean working surface, and I'm going to set my ruler aside as well. So now I have my 2 lengths of 2mm knotting cord, and what I'm going to do to start is just line them up, because you're going to want to keep them nice and parallel as you work. So go ahead and take the short end and you're just going to lay it right on your table, just like that. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take these 2 long ends and you're going to curve them around. But what you're going to want to do is, like I said, keep them nice and parallel. They're going to want to bend with each other. And then you're just going to lay it across there. So you see how they're nice and parallel, and they don't crisscross and overlap. So we're going to start with this loop right here, and now I'm going to again keeping them together. Just take it up and over, and now I'm going to go over this, just like so. So I've gone over the first 2 loops there. And now I'm going to slide it underneath that first little loop there. So just kind of work it around, just like so, keeping them, like I said, together. So I started here, and it's under there, under there, under there. And when I come back around, it goes over, and then under here. So I'm going to go ahead and just tighten that up a little bit more, and you'll start to see the knot form a little bit. There we go. So now, taking this end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this right here, and then I'm going to scooch it under these 2 that are right here on my first finger there. So gently kind of pick that up, scooch them underneath, and as I'm pulling it, I'm going to go over and then under. And you're going to want to kind of bring them together again, keeping them nice and parallel. I know this looks a little bit messy, but you'll see how it kind of turns out. Oops, and see, I flipped it already. So just go back and kind of adjust it. So I'm going to pull this a little bit tighter and show you how it is starting to look. So let me put that down just to kind of show you there. So this is what your knot should look like before you pull it together. So again, this was my starting point right here. It's underneath there, over, underneath, and comes around. And that was the first big loop that we made right there. And then when you bring it back around, you're just going to go over, and then under. So now, again, as you can see, all my strands are nice and parallel and tight. You're going to want to keep them like that, and you're going to start to tighten them all together. And what'll happen is if you pull on these 2 sides, as you'll see, this loop will get bigger. So you're just going to want to kind of pull down and then pull that around and just kind of keep working it together. You'll want to do this slowly again so that those cords will stay nice and parallel, because that's part of the beauty of this knot. And I'm doing this with 2 cords, but you can also do it with 1, or you can do it with 3 or 4, and you can kind of alternate your colors to make just really different kind of pretty designs. Okay, so you can see it starting to take shape a little bit more. So I'm just gonna pull a little bit more, make it nice and kind of tight. And also, if you need to, you can pull one strand over the other and just keep working it together with your fingers. A little bit more. All right. So this is what your double coin knot is going to look like. Kind of has a little bit of a heart shape there. So now, as you can see, I have one side that's sort of coming out the back and one side that's coming out the front. I prefer to keep that and leave this one on the bottom and put this one on top. You can do it either way. You can switch it up if you like, but I just think it creates a nice little consistency. So you're just gonna bring those 4 cords together, and I'm gonna use my ruler. And what I'm gonna do is from the top portion of my knot to where I'm going to cut it is going to be just about under 1 inch. So in between there, and you just kind of wanna eyeball it, and then when you make your second earring, you'll just do it to match it for the length that you want. Now you could make a much longer one if you like, you know, it just sort of depends on how much you want that earring to dangle. But I'm just gonna make mine nice and tiny and cute. So I'm gonna do about 1 inch there, okay? So now that I have my mark, I'm going to take my scissors and just cut off all 4 of my strands. And you might want to work with a little sharper scissors that I'm working with so you don't saw it off, but it does the trick just the same. Go ahead and set that all aside. So now these are the ends of what I'm working with. So I'm going to go ahead and set that down for a second and grab my GS Hypo Cement. And you'll notice that when you unscrew this cap, it has a nice little applicator needle, and that'll help you get into the well of your cord end. So go ahead, and you can see it already starting to bead up there. I'm just going to place a good amount of that GS Hypo Cement and kind of get it on all the walls in there, really making sure that it's going to attach to that cord. There we go. Just kind of swirl it around in there. And now I'm going to take all 4 of my strands here, again placing them together, making sure that they don't twist. And all I'm going to do is kind of pinch them together and carefully place that barrel end over the top. And it helps a little bit to kind of twist it down into place to really make sure that you get all that glue in there. And then you'll notice that there is a loop on the top there. I suggest making sure that ends up facing the side, like so. Because you'll see when we put our earring hook in that that will be the way that you'll want it to lay. Or if you want it the other way, just make sure that the loop is facing forward. But just be careful that you're consistent with your pair of earrings. So now I'm going to go ahead and let that dry for a few minutes, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the earring hook just to finish it off. So now that I've let it dry for a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and attach my earring hook. Go ahead and take your earring finding, and you're just going to open that loop using your pliers. And you need to open it just enough to slide your earring on. And now very carefully just close that loop up. Just use my fingers to hold it there, make it a little easier. And there you go. You are all set with your first earring. So there's your first earring. You'll just repeat all of these steps to go ahead and make that second earring. So there you are. That is how to make a pair of double coin knot earrings using the Lovely Knots Chinese knotting cord. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can find all of these supplies and more videos at BeaTaHaliq.com.